Hello and welcome to this week's edition of It's Your Call. We have a look at some of the decisions from round 16, as he does every Tuesday afternoon. The Umpire's manager joins me. Welcome, Jeff Geeshan.
Hi, Wayne.
Just before we move on, a quick cheerio we'd like to send to one of your men who had his appendix out, but I'm led to believe he's had a complication.
Yeah, Chris Donlan, one of our terrific field umpires, grand final umpire from last year, had some surgery last week on appendicitis, a few little complications, and it's set him back a little bit, and he's not feeling too well, but just a cheerio to Chris if he watches the show.
Well, we wish you well, Chris, and hope to see you back out there sometime soon. You can get involved across the course of any weekend. At AFL is the Twitter address. Hashtag your call. Send them through and we'll continue to pick out two from the previous round. Let's jump straight into it, Geesh. Dale Thomas involved against the Cats on the weekend. Dangerous play, this one.
Yes, it is a dangerous play, Wayne, and we can see Dale put his head down when he knew contact was coming, and actually he drew the contact. Joel Corey did everything he could possibly do to try and minimise and avoid the contact. He even let go of the ball. So in this situation, we want Dale to not put his head down like that because we're worried about his safety. So we just ask the players, try and refrain from that type of behaviour.
And the other thing is, kids who might be watching that show, don't do that because you can put yourself in some serious harm's way. Continuing on, Daniel Risch, well, I don't think you'll get much argument for unduly rough play.
Yes, I think on this show a couple of weeks ago, Wayne, we spoke about players needed to have a duty of care around the fence, around the bench area, any structures. And in this case, we can see Daniel, after Jones got the rid of the ball, give him a fair old shove into the fence with force. Lucky not to hurt him. And so, unfortunately for Rich, he's up, he's been suspended.
Yeah, fair call, that one. I think the players have adapted really well to sliding into the contest without using their knees. But on this occasion, Marty Clark got it wrong. And he was lucky because he could have inflicted some serious injury on young Walker, who made his debut last week.
Yeah, look, we were just so pleased that the umpire picked it up because we haven't seen this for probably 7 or 8 weeks. As you said, the players have adapted really well, but young Marty Clark here slid in, just more good luck than good management that there wasn't a serious injury occurring there.
Absolutely, had the makings of another Gary Rowan, and he's certainly out for the rest of the year. At AFL, hashtag your call is how you get involved, and that's exactly what Jet Lag Joel has done. Wants to have a discussion about Adam McPhee not getting a decision going his way here.
Yes, and look, I can understand people thinking that McPhee should have got a free kick, but look, we were happy for no free kick, based around the fact that Adam threw his arms out, went to ground. There was a little bit of contact there, yes, we can see that, but not really enough to constitute what Adam did. So we're more than comfortable with the play on call.
All right, deliberate out of bounds seemed to get a fair bit of attention over the course of the weekend. We'll show an obvious, well, actually, we'll show a number of deliberate out of bounds decisions. Get your take on that, and then also importantly, reinforce the interpretation with a graphic. Yeah,
we see Paul Chapman there, look up the line, no players up the ground, look back towards the boundary, kicked a tumble punt, got the result he wanted, it went out of bounds, umpires paid deliberate out of bounds. Although Chappie looks bemused, probably got the result he wanted because it allowed Geelong to then set up, but we need to pay deliberate out of bounds for this sort of kick.
Well, it was not a Geelong player in front of the ball, so I would have thought that that was his only choice he had.
Correct.
And we'll continue to have a look at a couple of other deliberate out of bounds. So that was a fairly straightforward one and well adjudicated by the umpire. I think we'll see one also from Brian Lake.
Yes, we'll see Lake take the ball near the boundary line, turn outside, fall across the boundary line and, virtually try to, I suppose, influence the umpire that he fumbled the ball and fell out of bounds. But clearly his intention was to go that way, fall out of bounds, knew he was out of bounds, then tried to make out he was trying to keep the ball in play.
The lack of reaction from Brian, though, after the decision was paid is also an indication that he thinks the umpire got it right.
Yeah, and we can see these ones here. These weren't paid. Disappointed in these because, as you can see from the previous two, we've asked our umpires to be strong with this. We can see a handball up the line with force along the ground. Daniel Kerr picks it up in a pack, looks up the line and again kicks it straight towards the boundary line. So we were strong with it over the weekend, but a couple didn't work that should have been paid.
And this is just the interpretation as it stands?
Yes, and we can see from that it's quite clear that if a player intentionally kicks, handballs or forces the football over the boundary line without the football being touched by another player, it should be awarded as deliberate out of bounds.
All right, now, final decision, just before we have a look at the vision. When there is a throw-in, if a ruckman or a third party comes up and hits the ball out on the full over the boundary line, it's a free kick. There's some confusion about this same rule applying when there's a bounce down close to an opponent's goal line. Let's have a look at Nathan Lovett-Murray and what transpired there against Port Adelaide.
Okay, it's a ruck contest. Nathan is the third man up, so he probably thinks, well, I'm not the ruckman here. I can slam it through on the full. But this rule's been around for 3 or 4 years now, and we don't see it very often. The players are very good in this area, but Nathan's just forgotten about the rule here, gone up, hit it across the scoring line on the full, which is a free kick for deliberately rushed.
So did the central umpire here get this decision right? Because he consulted with the goal umpire. Because the goal umpire, when you have a look, he immediately patted his chest, which would indicate he was going for a behind.
Yeah, the field umpire would be just checking, was it touched by any other hands? Because for this to be a free kick, it needs to go across the scoring line on the full. And we could see there's a little bit of doubt about that. Just check with the goal umpire. The goal umpire indicated, yes, it did go on the full, therefore the free kick was paid.
Nicely done. And just quickly, there was another one in the Collingwood-Geelong game. I know this is a question without notice, but the length of time for one of the score review decisions?
Yes.
Just the background as to why it took so long?
Yeah, it was an interesting one, Wayne. Everybody there, it did take a very long time. It was a very close call. Sidebottom threw his boot at it, Selwood threw his boot at it. Both claimed they kicked it. The umpires on the field had no idea. And when you see the vision, it happened so quick, 2 feet close to the ball, no one had any idea. Then it had to go back to the umpire, to the umpires' observers in the box, the score review people. They wanted to see the vision over and over to try and help the umpires on the field. Probably looked at it for a little bit too long, went back with inconclusive, which was the umpire's call, which was go to the minor score, which they gave. So we got it right because Sidebottom did in fact get his foot to the ball. Just a little bit disappointed it took too long.
Yes, it's something that I think we're all starting to get used to. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just before we do wrap things up, when do you start making the decision about who might umpire the grand final later this year?
The grand final's probably a fair way away, but certainly our finals appointments, after round 18, we'll have our next list management meeting where we'll look at the performance of the umpires to that stage. We'll get a bit of a feel, and then we'll monitor the umpires who are in contention right through to the end, and then the rankings will determine who goes to the final, and then obviously the grand final.
Well, it's competition for spots. Appreciate you coming in. We'll see you next week. And you can get involved at AFL #YourCall to nominate a couple of decisions. Congratulations to Burke Bakicki of Keysborough in Victoria and also Glenn Madison of Melbourne in Victoria, winners of last week's Quit Now reserve seat tickets. Quit Now, our very good friends, are giving you the chance to win reserve seating double passes to a game of your choice. All you have to do is simply log on to quitnow.gov.au and in 25 words or less give us your best motivational speech encouraging a friend or family member to quit smoking. We'll see you next week.